Hello and welcome to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler. I am the aforementioned Spooky Chris. Welcome. I am an author, a occasional filmmaker, general ne'er-do-well, an all-around strange guy. You can find all my stuff at spookychris.com. Hello. Hey. A hail and hearty hello. This go round, on my mind has been, and it's funny, because it took a minute. It's been on my mind, but it took something my wife had said to really kind of calcify what I was thinking, and that's kind of the idea. And it's the strangest notion that in an era, so when you think of this, this time we're in, 2024, we have, with the internet, we have access to almost limitless information, limitless resources. With AI, we have access to the ability to do fact checking, and menial task kind of stuff almost instantaneously. Really making it easier for us to do the harder work, as it were, like the personal work, we'll say, and kind of free up time. And we're in a moment in history where knowledge and information is more important than ever, where there are active people, agents, whatever you want to call them, who are doing, set out to do nothing more than obfuscate and lie and hide the truth for their own gains. And their own gains are shallow. It's power and greed masked as nationalism and patriotism and kind of dime store hate. So you look at this timeline, this era, and what are we doing but putting a stake through the heart of journalism and information sharing? It's insane to me. And it's crazier still that you get it kind of from both sides. From the side of the public who have, I don't know why, decided they can get their news on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and through somebody's aunt's brother who clearly knows better because he heard it through somebody else, that this is what's really happening and this is the real scoop. And then on the other side of the protectors of journalism, you have them paywalling everything and hiding journalism and information behind these paywalls that not everyone can afford. So it's kind of like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And it's insane to me. It's insane that in an election year we are clear-cutting information sources. It's weird because you're seeing, and everything is money. And the thing about money is this: there's always ways to make money. Now, I say that as someone who's not wealthy, and I say that as someone who, it's not like, well, yeah, it's easy to make money. You just snap your fingers and there it is. It's not that easy in the abstract. But for these corporations and stuff, it's not a matter as much to me of there's no interest in journalism, there's no interest in this, and there's no money in it, as much as they pour money into the wrong resources, which makes the money they're making harder to spread around. They put their money in the management, in the, this person we've had some hard times. Fire everybody. We're going to hire this person, and they are clearly a genius because they had, they did okay at some other business, which usually meant firing people and cutting staff and bottom lining it. And so they look like a success. Like, I mean, it's funny. As someone in Michigan with, we had Rick Snyder, the smart nerd, or what was he? I forget. It was something like that. The nerd. They kept saying how he's a nerd. No, he's this great businessman. Well, no, he was just he was there long enough to kind of correct. He was Gateway computers, like, to get them on better footing. And then 86, he got out of there. He just like bamfed out of there. And again, it was money. That's what we deem as success, as money. Oh, he made more money for us. It was what a success. No, success is not making short money to me. It's your setting the foundation for long money, for continued success. Now, if they, leave and somebody else screws the pooch and the things fall apart, well, you can't really lay it at their feet. But again, as someone who had a stayed under Rick Snyder and who lived in Flint, we saw how successful Rick Snyder was when rubber hit road, when he, there's this like, Flint's a poor city, just kind of change their water system and let's not like investigate and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that's a different path. So no, success to me is not the short money that gets, more money into the pockets of rich people. It's long-term success. It's setting the foundation for long-term success. That is success. So I never really buy the whole like, oh gosh, that person made shareholders a whole bunch of money, so better hire them, because what they do is they come in, like they look at the books and go, oh God, we have a lot of money on staff, we better cut staff, and then they give themselves, they show a short-term profit, like, oh, see, we already saved ourselves $200 million, and then they cut themselves a check for $100 million as a bonus because, well, they're doing such a great job. And we see that all the time. So these organizations, they have spending is too top heavy, and then they spend on the wrong resources. They don't spend on investing in talent. They spend, it's like most corporations now. They'd rather get rid of the senior folks who are going to eat up a lot of their money and want 401ks and benefits and this and that, and then get rid of them and then get younger or less experienced people in there for less money. But yeah, like we'll tackle it from the journalistic side first. You've seen journalism faltering for a while, and that's because, I mean, and you can look at like a regional news source where they stopped investing in editors, and they started not having editors check stories because they were obsessed with getting, and it's the 24-hour news cycle where it's like, because we have access to everything at all times, people feel like they need to have instantaneous news, which I get the idea, but to have the correct news, that takes time. You can't just snap your fingers and like, oh, there's that information, because when there's a crime, well, you have to go through, unless you can investigate as much as you want, but you have to go through the police and through their information department, their communications department. You have to go through the lawyers, through the courts, through all these little things, and they aren't going to tell you anything they don't want you to know. So you're kind of penned in by what they want you to know and when they want you to know it. Unless you start going speculation. That's the wonder of, well, here, I'll stick in this lane for a minute before I start going ham. But it's this need for instantaneous news and for like this river, so that every time someone refreshes, there's more news, and it's so more and more useless stories were getting attention, and the bigger stories, there was like a big boof, 100 dead. Terrible thing happened. And then it just got less and less and less and less. So that, after 2 weeks, when you'd have more information and everything, everybody didn't care because they had moved on because the river had to keep moving. And by God, there's a new dog park coming, and there's, a new Slurpee King, store opening, and all of that is valid. All that's great. We need all that stuff. The information is good, but we don't prioritize correctly. So by serving the river and not the story, there was no need for editors. So people were just kind of like writing what they wrote, and then and again, as someone who, I have no problem with mistakes, but the problem with journalistic mistakes is that it starts at spelling mistakes, and then it goes deeper where I couldn't really get a hold of so-and-so. Basically, I heard this is the way it is. I'm just going to put that this is the way it is. And then we'll just put a print of retraction if we screwed up something later. And so the more you do that, the more it eats away at your credibility. And that's the thing. Journalistic standards were built on credibility, on this belief that you turned to journalists and journalism, the news, for the truth. I mean, essentially. And because that was their job, because they had the leads, they had the connections, they were the ones getting this information that you couldn't get. So they cut the editors out, and then they're serving the river. And as the internet grew, there's more and more citizen journalists, which are basically just people who know people. And kind of like you have citizen detectives now, which is just insane. It's kind of like we're making everyone's kind of hobbyist, like in side hustle, like a career. And I'm sorry, it's great that people can hear a news story and say, oh gosh, these 3 children are missing, I'm gonna go find them. That's sweet, and that's a romantic notion, but you're just essentially getting in the way. Outside of the need for people power to go and search the brush, go into the woods, go and look for people, look for missing. You are in the way. You staking out the homes of purported, believed, supposed villains in the story muddies the water, and it makes the police have to deal with you instead of dealing with this case. So citizen detectives it's nonsense. All of it serves like a podcast. Like, well, we've got a podcast. We're going to go look for the truth. And it's insanity. In the citizen journalism, the idea that, I know a bunch of people and they're going to tell me the truth. Well, you're not really getting any more truth than the journalist got. It's just that someone knows you have a platform. And if you have enough interest and viewers and whatever readers, they'll feed you things that serve their ends and their means and their needs. So if it's, you have like all these people are reading like, I heard blah, blah, blah. And you'll see a lot more citizen journalism with kind of gossip crap because there are so many thirsty people and obsessive people and stalkers who stalk celebrities and are there with their cameras and their phones and everything at all times. If they see anybody, ooh, get it out, film them. There's so and so and so, and then they like, oh, there's so and so. It was, oh, that's not his girlfriend. Oh, what are they doing? We have no idea what they're doing unless they're like literally canoodling. We have no idea what they're doing. There could be two actors who are working together and they're out after shooting and they went to get a bite to eat. And unless, again, they're canoodling, making out or whatever, we don't know anything. And again, we're not in the relationship with them, so it's not our business. And we don't know anything, again, because maybe that relationship's done. They're celebrities. They don't put everything out on Front Street. But because there's so many people that they're thirsty, and we're so thirsty for blood and like just this drama Again, look at TikTok and Instagram and all of that. Like anything, everybody's got an opinion about everything. Like, here's Beyonce's new song. Well, here's my opinion of it. I think it's blah, blah, blah. And then somebody's got to like, here's my opinion of her opinion, blah, blah, blah. And it's stupid because it's cute. It was cute at first. Where it's like, oh, that's funny. Like these reaction videos to trailers. Like, oh, that's hilarious. He's freaked out by this scary movie. That's great. But how weird is it that we're voyeuristically watching people be voyeurs? It's so weird. Like, we have so much of this life we can lead, but we'd rather watch people watch people. We'd rather listen to people who listen to people. Like, it's insane. We don't want the creative. We want the like juice. We want the blood. So all of these citizen journalists that don't know anything, and again, I see the power of it in wartime, where we can't get to the Ukraine, and we don't, Americans don't fully understand the horror, or Gaza at this moment in history. We don't understand the horror. So people that are there, and they can show us that world. They can film it. They can tell us that's impactful. That's important. That's interesting. That is what that is for. This citizen journalism. In other words, I don't even know if it's a citizen journalism as much as it's a witness to history. And I think we're muddying that water. It's like, you are a witness to history. You are not coming at it in a sense of like someone who, because again, journalists went to school. They understand ethics. They understand repercussions. They understand kind of the law. They're not someone who's like, well, I think this is blah blah blah, and so's got to pay, and blah blah blah. Where they're throwing all this slander out there that doesn't always wash up on their shore, but can definitely wash up on their shore because they just said a bunch of mayonnaise on somebody's name, and that somebody's going to find out and be like, no. You don't talk a bunch of mayonnaise on me, for your viewership, for your listenership, for your cred, for dollars, basically, so you can get some money, and you're going to lie on me. That's not going to happen. So these are folks that are serving, these citizen journalists and these like citizen detectives that they're serving. They are the master they're serving. They don't buy this whole like, well, I'm just trying to tell the truth. No, you're not. You're trying to get hits and listens and all stuff to get the pennies on the dollar that you make from your streams. That's what that's about. So we're killing journalism so we can put it in the hands of the people. The people don't understand what's important enough to report on and don't have the real access or the real temperament to understand the repercussions of misreporting something. Like we're in an era now where politicians lead with this, where it's like something happens, outrageous statement, allegation, lie, and mistruth. And then somebody kind of like gets them, it's like, yeah, no, all of that's wrong. And they go like, I clearly got the wrong information. It was the journalists that spread this wrong information. It's not my fault. Thoughts and prayers. And that's as far as we go. That's like everybody's like, oh, well, see how good they are and what wise and smart people they are, that they just, that's how they did things, and that's the way to do it. You accept your mistakes, but they didn't accept anything. They just kind of like peed in the pool a little more and just to confuse things. Because again, the politicians nowadays don't care about truth or honor or justice or America. They care about confusing us enough so that we vote for them, so they can have more power and money and blah blah blah. But so the journalistic machine has been, and they were misreporting because they were moving too fast, and more people didn't want to put things out there. They were like, we don't know if we want the truth out there or not. So they would drag their feet as much as possible. So the news, those stories would kind of just, because the river moves so fast, it's essentially a river of news. Like those stories would just kind of wash away until someone else brought them up. And again, this is a good thing. I will say there's a good thing about the quote unquote citizen journalists and investigators, in that they are out there always looking at things. So a story that lost interest, they can bring it back up into the forefront again and get more ears and eyes on it. And that is good. That is powerful. And it stinks because that could be powerful hand in hand with journalism, because journalism can't catch everything. So it could serve as a reminder, like, hey, what about this? What about this one person who died mysteriously? And the police have just kind of had too many other cases, and they're too busy to kind of circle back until we put their feet to the fire and they have to go back. So there's that side of it, and you know, as more and more news sources popped up, and these citizen journalists and these bloggers, and they're all bloggers. So many of these people are bloggers that are like, you know, like movie news blogs. They're blogs, and they get press releases. There's a point where like, if you have enough views on your site, you can get on the list to get press releases. And then it's just a matter of whether or not you're respected enough and you have the chutzpah enough to go and kind of make your bones to get the interviews and to get the closer words, like that's, you know, like beyond the press release. But again, a lot of that's just it's just extrapolating on news releases, which is fine. That's fine. I mean, gosh, I go to movie blogs all the time because I want to, you know that news. But it's a little different between a movie blog, music blog, and a news one, because again, there's no real repercussions. Lawyers can get involved and blah blah blah, and they just pull the story down and apologize, like, oh gosh, you know, we were, and it's not even a real apology ever. It's we were misled, we were given bad information. It's not our fault. Blah blah blah. You know, it's very much a don't look at me. I didn't do it, which is just insane. So you have that end of it where the editors, the higher ups and the boards, the news boards, were just that, you know, they killed news. It's too expensive to make newspapers. So like the elderly and everyone of a certain generation, basically kind of like with phone books, they just decided you don't exist. Adapt and survive, or just die off. Just go die off. So people that liked to read the newspapers kind of lost out. Like the modern newspaper for, gosh, our area is just, it's a clown show. And the money they charge is just insane. So they force everyone onto the internet. And if you do that, well, you need advertising. Like if you're going to get the news out there. And so you have to have all this advertising, and like they needed comment boards to kind of keep people there. And even if people said outrageous things, many times they just kind of let it ride because they want that interaction, that feedback. They want people stirring the pot and coming back. And it's just all kind of gross. But as ad revenue started to die, because there's so many people are on streamers, they're on TV, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. There's so many things keep getting us distracted. They're on Spotify. Advertisers don't quite know where to go with their advertising. So the desire to like support news it gets less and less, and there's less and less eyes on that, because people would rather go to Facebook and like see someone like, oh, I heard the president said this on Facebook, and like somebody's like, oh, gosh, I can't believe the president would say that. You know, it's anecdotal news. That's what people have preferred. Or you have TV news, and TV news still exists, but it exists in 2 to 3 minute sound bites. It's not in depth. So if you can't get it in 2 to 3 minutes, maybe if it's a big story, 5 minutes. You know, unless it's like a mass murder kind of thing, and they can have a special special report kind of thing. And again, this is not to say journalism is great, because journalism has become too often sensationalistic and too obsessed with the celebrity side and not the news side. I mean, for God's sake, there is no reason on earth Donald Trump should have ever become president. I don't care, whatever you believe, what you want to believe. But this is a man who was a businessman who said the most ridiculous, insensitive, horrible things. All things aside. And it was kind of like the media and people wanted him in for the lols. Like, oh my God, he'll be so funny if he's president because he just says the craziest things. He does the craziest things. And that's kind of what our society has become, is a for the lols society, where it's all one big prank, it feels like. Like, oh God, that'd be so funny. It's like, no, like literally, he's doing things that like will have repercussions that will last generations. Oh, but it's so funny. He just says what he wants to say. I wish I could say those things. He just goes for it. Like, what world are we in? So it's not to say there's not blood on the hands of journalism. But with the loss of ad revenue and stuff, they felt the need to put up paywalls. And paywalls, there's a part of it that's kind of like, okay, people should be willing, and maybe I'd be willing. It's kind of like a newspaper subscription. Like, you should be willing to pay for good, well investigated, well written news to keep you up to date. But the fact is that the news is still crappy behind the paywall. It's not like these are harder hitting, better stories. Some maybe are, but a lot of it, at least in around here, like a lot of it is like, oh, the junior varsity team beat the Soup to Nuts Biscuits. Click here to read more, and you click there and like, oh, it's behind a paywall. Well, I don't care because I'm not connected to them. Well, somebody's parent is, and they want to read more. So now maybe they have to subscribe so they can read that stupid article that shouldn't even be behind a paywall. Like, there's certain things that big news shouldn't be behind paywalls. Like, important news shouldn't be behind paywalls. There should be better ways to figure out, and frankly, like, supplement with newsy podcasts and newsy, like, video stuff. Like, if you're going to do crap, and then maybe you paywall that stuff, whatever. There's ways to do this. For God's sake, we are a nation that sent someone to the frickin' moon. We can figure out how to monetize it, because journalism is important. News is important. Information is important. We are in a time, like I said, where people are lying to our faces, where they are telling us things and then go, bah, can you believe that? Like the fact that they're saying that it's a DEI that caused so at the time of this recording, it's April, just shy of April. It's end of March 2024. So there was the loss of this giant bridge in Baltimore. So people are saying, oh, it's DEI. That's the cause of it. No way on earth that has anything. It's no bearing on what happened on this terrible accident. But you say these things, they're a little like trigger words, and the trigger words change from time to time, but there's little trigger words, and then you say those, and you get the ears of certain people, and they perk up and say, yep, I knew it. Conspiracy. Because that's what news has become, is conspiracy. It has become this insane need to have all things at all times and have it fit your idea of what things are. I knew a guy who became a flat earther, and it's funny because all of us that knew him, it was just like we're aghast. I'm just like, my God, how can this happen? But you look at NBA players, sports players, all of these famous people who will sit there and kind of like, well, we don't really have any proof that the Earth's round. People who can afford to fly around the stupid world at a drop of a hat. People that can afford information, and they just don't want it because they're so into their life and their lifestyle. And that's what, it's the curse of this, like, whatever, man, I'm just living my best life. It's like, well, no, living your best life, there's a responsibility to, like, be engaged and informed in the rest of the world. You are not here alone. All of us here are not NPCs in a computer game for you to interact with to get, what you need from. That's not how this works. We're all here together. So the other side of the journalism is you have all of this active lying from Trump and from so many Republicans and others who just sit there and like, journalism's a lie. Journalists are terrible. There is no news. Fake news. As if, and again, now to say that news hasn't been slanted one way or t'other for ages is mayonnaise as well. It's foolish to say that because there's always like an opinion behind things. The newscasters can do their best, and they do their best generally to not have their interests in mind as they tell you the news, but they do care. They're not automatons. So that's that's going to be there. But like this nonsense of like, oh hey, if it doesn't fit our narrative, if it doesn't show us as heroes, if it doesn't do what we want, well then it's lies and wrong and we are right, and that's just the way it is. And people are they've started to accept that. They're like, yeah, there's no way that Trump didn't win the election. It is fake news that Biden won. It's like, despite several investigations, like, oh my God, okay, fine, we've never really done this before. We're going to investigate everything because people keep crying, fire in the middle of the movie theater. So, all right, great. We're going to go and investigate just in case, just to make everybody, all the babies stop crying. So they investigate and they come out and they say, yep, nothing wrong. Here we go. Well, that's just because they've been bought and sold too. Everybody's in on it. It's this crazy conspiracy of everyone's in on it but me. Everyone but us. It's the mindset, and it's funny because you get so much of the mindset of God, guns, and Trump, as if any God that's worth following is obsessed with Trump and guns more than love, honor, kindness, compassion, beauty, any of that stuff. It's like, nope, guns. I'm God, and I just want people to have guns. I just want, hey man, we need more people up here. We got kill them all off. Get them. Because then you're like, well, cool. Well, God wants me to have a gun. He wants me to use it, but who am I using it against? Well, you'll know, son. You'll know. Yeah, sure you will. So you have all these people that are saying, like over and over again, journalism bad. And the people that are listening, again, they just want anything that will serve the agenda that tells them they're right, that comforts them. It's the kind of the fear of being overtaken, like, oh, the black people are coming. The Mexicans are coming. The gays are coming. It's this insane thought that they are coming to take what you have. They're going to take your job, take your life, take your wife, take your children, take your happiness, take your dog. They're going to take everything, so you better get guns. And if they're coming, whomever they are, well, then you need someone that stands up for you and that says, no, I won't let you. Which is crazy to think that Trump would be the guy to stand in front of us and say, I'm not going to, you shall not pass. Because the only thing he doesn't pass is a Whopper bar. And that's about it. Maybe the red light district he doesn't pass. But anyways. But so these people they yell so loud, and it's this thing in humans. We yell so loud and so often, so much, and we're kind of like, it's funny, I saw a video about it the other day. It was fascinating how to fake out people in a boxing match and stuff, or in a match where you kind of like, you're doing different kind of like fake outs, and you do so many of them that your body can't process them, and it slows down because it's trying to like process, like, where's the threat coming from? I can't handle this, and so when they finally do attack, you can't keep up with them because your body is still like, It's kind of the same thing. These people are yelling so much and yelling so loud, and they're saying so many things, and it's just, and at the end of the day, it's always like, they're coming for you, and that's what sticks in you. Is like, I lived where we moved about a year and change ago to this area, kind of Burbish, and there was a house, giant Trump flag, and it's funny, they had a chain across their driveway so people wouldn't come, and they had signs, basically, do not enter signs and stuff. And it's crazy because like you imagine kind of the mentality, this fear, this like, don't you come here, don't you dare come here, get out of here. And it's like, is the world that scary? Because if it's that scary to you, I'm sorry. Especially living out in the sticks, kind of where they did. It's kind of like that. I can't imagine living with that much anger and fear that someone's coming for you. And it's like, they're coming for my guns. They're coming. And that's funny. I saw the other day, like, aren't they? Because of laws. And I'm like, listen, if you think there's a day that will ever come where Anyone, military, police, whatever you want, is going to go door to door hunting for guns. You're a clown. And you're an even worse clown if you think that would work. But anyway, so you have all these people yelling and getting people wound up, and they don't know what the truth is anymore because you keep lying to them so much, and you're so fervent that someone is coming for them, someone is attacking them, someone is destroying what they love, and you lean on like, I love America, so I'm selling American Bibles, America, America, America. And people, like, that's their identity. It's like they don't know what to be outside of an American. And it's like, well, you can, hey, man, I'm an American. There's nothing wrong with being an American, man. But that doesn't make you better than an Italian. It doesn't make you better than a Spaniard. It doesn't make you better than a French person, whatever. It doesn't make you better than anyone. But we have this thing where we have to be the best. And and we have to always be like, it's like the jocks and the cheerleaders in school, and everybody has to always be fawning over them. Like, oh my God, you're so great. You're the best. And we feel that need in America because I think deep down, so many of us really do go like, are things okay? Because I'm not making the money I feel like I should be making. It's harder to make bills. It's harder to survive. It's harder to do these things. So am I doing okay? Am I? And you start asking those hard questions, and people, it's scary. And if you start to ask those questions, like, are you a patriot? Are you a good person? Are you questioning things too much? Do you have that right? And according to these people, no, because America's always right, because God is with us, because that's how it is. And we should never question, kind of like parents. Never question your parents. They're always right. And if these people, and we're taught to respect politicians and the leaders, and you're taught to respect the president and stuff, but when they act fools and all these terrible things come out, like, oh, well, he, like, slept with a prostitute and when he was married and had to pay her off and did this and he did that and all these terrible things. And then, you find those out, but how do you process that? Even, and that's not a new thing. We had it, Clinton, you had rumors with JFK. Stuff's always been there, but you still kind of like, well, how do you process, like, you're supposed to respect them because they have that job. So they have, they're the leader of the free world. They've got to be better than me. Right. Don't they? So if somebody's telling you that, like, journalism isn't important anymore, and you've come to, for whatever your reasons are, trust that person, well, what are you going to do? You're going to keep trusting them because they're telling you what you need to hear to survive. They're comforting you. They're saying, it's okay, you can sleep at night because I'll protect you. There's boogeymen everywhere, but I will protect you. So don't worry about it. Journalists, they don't care. They're pointing the lights and they're showing how many, like, they're trying to tell you there's not boogeymen. I'm telling you there's boogeymen, and there's no reason. I would never lie to you. And we're afraid. So we believe there's boogeymen everywhere. And if journalism is trying to tell us things that, like, well, I don't, they tell me that it's safe. I don't think it's safe. We've just eroded it from both sides, and we need information. We need information from people who know how to get it legally and get it the right way, and to follow leads, to have connections, and not just somebody with a blog that's trying to get hits on their site that's going to have, like, top 10 reasons Joe Biden's going to lose the election. Here's my listicle. And just want to drive traffic, or did you see what Joe Biden said this time? Go to my blog. So they can get hits and clicks and views and money, because as a society, and everybody needs money. There's nothing wrong with earning money, because we all need it to survive. But we don't want to survive anymore. We want this crazy Hollywood dream of, like, I want a mansion, I want a Benz, I want 2 Audis, I want a Lambo, I want all of these expensive clothes, and I want all these fancy friends, and I want to always, like, live this life that other people, because I want other people to envy me. And it's like we're replacing, it's funny because that kind of thing, it's like we want all this money, want all of this attention, to fill holes in us that don't, like, they only get bigger the more of that we get. Because it's kind of like trying to feed yourself on sugar. It's like, yeah, you get full, but then the sugar crash comes and you get hungry again. Then you just fill your face with more sugar and you're like, okay, great. I'm good. You know, it's like an addiction. And basically it's about too late. All these corporations have stepped in and bought up, news blogs, information blogs, entertainment blogs and stuff. And then they cut the staff and then they make them essentially advertising platforms. And now that AI is so popular, they're just having AI clumsily write articles. Like, write an article about blah, 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 with blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then enter, and then they just cut and paste. And so even, like, the voices of people that were experts in their fields are being let go. So the experts are now, like, computers that are being fed information. Like, and I can't blame the computers. I can't blame AI necessarily, because they're being fed information from corporate shills that are just trying to get clicks and information, clicks and likes and advertising dollars. Like, it's all about money. It's all about feeding a board who have money. They just want more and more and more. Like, why is streaming a hot mess? Well, because they just follow algorithms. They don't follow what people are interested in or want, or look at the bigger picture. They look at the, like, ooh, how much money am I going to make in 6 months? That's what I want to know. Which is funny. It's funny. That's just as an aside. It's funny because investors are like, oh, invest now and plan it for 20 years. But corporate investing is like, oh no, invest now. We're going to pull all the money out in 6 weeks, and we're all jumping on a plane and getting out of Dodge before people notice. And I hate, I hate ending these on well, yeah, that's it. World's over. Bye. Turn the lights out. Kind of a note, because I do believe there's always hope. If there's not hope, I mean, what's the point? If you can't believe there's hope, you're at a point, like, and we make our own hope. We find our own hope, but you get to a point where it's like, what am I here for? So there's always hope. But man, this one's a tough one. All you can do is keep seeking out like facts, real concrete facts. Hold journalism to a standard, even today. Hold them to a better standard than they hold themselves to. Don't get your news off the frickin' social media and someone making a 2-minute video as they're doing some dance at a supermarket because it's a challenge. Like, here's the news, the presidential news challenge dance. Hey, like, be better, want better, expect better. And just vet your news, vet your friends, vet the people you listen to. That's the problem, maybe, at the core, is who we believe and what we believe. And the fact is that none of us are 100% right on everything. None of us are 100% like smart. We're all doing the best we can. We're all kind of making our way and trying to do what we can, but none of us are infallible. So we're always trying to course correct and keep course correcting, man. Like, we can't let the people who are lying to us, who are trying to pull things apart, who are trying to put us against one another for profit, people who are, literally, they are going to check out sooner than many of the rest of us. And they're just like, cash. And it's like, you don't even need the money you have now. And you're dying like, generational wealth. And it's, so we have to want and be better and keep fighting. And that's all we can do. This was a longer show than I anticipated, but this something I'm very passionate about. And just because it scares the crap out of me to see journalism dying as it is, because it is so important and so necessary. And as someone, I have a lot of journalists that have been in my life. I'm married to one, and I've seen how so many people are getting out of journalism and getting into communications and getting into other fields because there's no future in it, because no one wants the truth. And that's crazy to me. It's crazy because it's, we would look at these sci-fi movies, these dystopian movies, and we go like, oh boy, those are just crazy. Things are never going to be like that, but they're getting that way. And it's day by day. And that's the thing is it's this is how the world ends, not with a bang but a whimper kind of a thing. That's how the world ends. Is it's not this necessarily this big cataclysmic boom. It's this whatever. Whatever. Trump wins, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever. I don't care. Because we're so beat down. Yeah, we want our little patch of happiness by any means necessary. And even if it means washing blood off that money, whatever, man, we still got that bill in our hands. So, friend, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming along for the ride. It's been fun. I will talk to you again, hopefully sooner than later. You can find all of my blogs, all of my stuff at spookychris.com. Tons of books. Go buy a book for the love of Pete. Do me a favor. Until next time, my friends.